It's the cold case which has remained unsolved since 1986.
After vanishing from streets of Fulham 36 years ago, Suzy Lamplug's whereabouts is still unknown.
So, with prime suspect John Cannan reportedly on his deathbed, is it time that he would make a confession? Criminologist Professor David Wilson joins us right now. We'll get to that in a moment because I think I know what your answer is going to be. Who is he, and what are his links to the case?
Well, Cannan is quite clearly the only suspect in the case, and it's not David Wilson, Professor of Criminology, that's saying that. It's the Metropolitan Police. In 2002, they said, uncontrovertibly, there is only one person that they are looking for, and even though the police still have this case as a live case, their only suspect is John Cannan. What are his links? Well, he was at Wormwood Scrubs in 1986, and there was a small unit at Wormwood Scrubs that allowed prisoners towards the end of their sentence to work in the local community, and that's what John Cannan did. He was working in Fulham, and that's where we think that he got access to the places and the people that Suzy would know. The other key thing to think about as a link, though, is that what do we know, again, definitively about John Cannan? Well, he murdered Shirley Banks in circumstances that are eerily like the circumstances in which Suzy Lamplugh was abducted and then declared murdered.
There's a link also with Shirley Banks's car. Her orange Mini Clubman was found because they found a tax disc for Banks's car in Cannan's car. Her orange Mini Clubman found painted blue in the lock-up garage in the block of flats. Cannan had changed Shirley Banks's plates to SLP 3886. Now it's a jump, but it's a feasible jump that SLP is very close to Suzy Lamplugh.
And 386, of course, 3 murders within 86. It's not a jump, in my view. Cannan has historically been the kind of person who likes to play games. Catch me if you can. He'll admit, then deny, deny, then admit. And, of course, where did the police find poor Shirley Banks's body? They found her body in Dead Woman's Ditch. And one of the things that I've looked at, in particular in relation to the disappearance of Suzy Lamplugh, is, well, where would her body be? And I got my friend, who's a professor of geoprofiling, to kind of suggest where Cannan may have disposed of Suzy's remains. And there is a witness who saw somebody that looked like Cannan with a suitcase dispose of that suitcase within the Grand Union Canal below a bridge called Gallows Hill. This is a man who consistently plays games.
And so that sort of evidence like that, like there was a witness that saw that, because there was a few sort of problems and flaws initially, wasn't there, within the police investigation? Oh,
there were a whole number of flaws in the original investigation. And, of course, that's what first led to the police and the Lamplugh family falling out with one another, because Diana Lamplugh, in particular, whom I knew well, I often shared a platform with Diana, she would ask the police, why are they not investing this line of inquiry? Why aren't they speaking to these witnesses? And the man who saw, who he is absolutely convinced, absolutely 100%, that it was John Cannan that was carrying this suitcase with great difficulty and depositing it in the Grand Union Canal, that man was never interviewed.
That's mad.
The Met, their investigation, they say, into the disappearance and murder of Suzy Lamplugh is ongoing. Detectives remain committed to securing justice for the family. We'll continue to ensure that no stone is unturned. And, of course, her parents, who we saw so much in the media, campaigned so hard, set up the Suzy Lamplugh Trust, died before anyone was convicted of her murder. We've talked here a lot about these types of criminals, these types of people. They don't do deathbed confessions, do they?
No, they don't. To do a deathbed confession, they'd need to develop something they've never had, and that's called a conscience. And the chances are that we're dealing with somebody who's got an underlying personality disorder, which probably suggests that he would have some elements of psychopathy. And of course, that kind of person never confesses. They deny. John Cannan denied having anything to do with Shirley Banks's murder. John Cannan never admitted to any of the crimes that he committed. So I don't think we should sadly hold our breath imagining that he's going to make a confession in relation to his connection or otherwise with Suzy Lamplugh.
So with someone like him then, is he born a psychopath? Is it something you learn? Is it learned behaviour? Is it through circumstance? How does that happen?
That's a good question. I've always answered that question by saying we are born. We deal with we're biological beings. We deal with the hands of cards that were given to us by our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. We are hearts and minds. We're blood pumping through our veins. So I think we're born. However, how we are born how we live our lives after we are born can be shaped by how we are nurtured, which is why good parenting and good schooling is so important. But ultimately, we are born the way that we are, and that can change subtly depending on the kinds of nurturing experiences that we have.
The subject of your new book, A Plot to Kill, Peter Farquhar, was the guy that was killed here. This is a story of deception and betrayal, it says on the front of the book here, and it was a very, very quiet sort of English town. The murderer was, as we've been discussing, a psychopath.
The murderer was able to inveigle his way and not raise suspicion. This is somebody who was a great student. He used to be taught by poor Peter Farquhar at the University of Buckingham. This is somebody who was working in the local nursing home, pretending that he was helping people with dementia. This was a man, before he was arrested, who was 5 days away from going on to ordination training in the Church of England. The kind of people who have these skills, in inverted commas, are very good at making themselves appear to be safe and trustworthy, whereas, in fact, all that glitters isn't gold.
So how could you spot them? I mean, that's what's scary about that.
Because if they're too good to be true, Holly, they are too good to be true. And often it is women that have to deal with psychopaths because, by and large, psychopathy, it does affect women, but by and large it's a personality disorder that affects men more regularly.
What part of life would you find a psychopath? What were they attracted to? Money?
I would have thought it was money in business. They like power, they're very narcissistic, they want to hear the sound of their own voice. I often say the most successful psychopaths are usually in business because they don't mind making you redundant on Christmas Eve. Because they don't have that emotional, empathetic relationship to you to think, oh my gosh, if I make you redundant on Christmas Eve, how are you going to cope with the holidays?
Yeah.
Psychopath doesn't mean killer.
No, you can be a functioning psychopath and holding down a job. However, there's a significant proportion of the prison population who have psychopathy. But no, you don't need to be a killer. You don't need to be a psychopath to be a killer. People can kill in 5 minutes of madness. What happened to Suzy Lamplugh was not 5 minutes of madness.
Yeah.
What happened to Shirley Banks was not 5 minutes of madness. And nor, sadly, was it 5 minutes of madness that resulted in Peter Farquhar losing his life.
Well, the prison and public law solicitor, Dean Kingham, confirmed that Cannan is still a Category A prisoner, declined to comment on his health, went on to say the evidence pointing to guilt has never been sufficient for police to formally arrest and question Mr Cannan. More recently, evidence has been established to point away from his guilt and identifying new lines of inquiry. Mr Cannan has always vehemently denied anything to do with Ms Lamplugh's disappearance. It's always fascinating.
Yeah, it really
to have you
is.
on here.
Thank
We absolutely
you.
love it. Your
Thank
books
you.
are brilliant, and this is the one we're talking about, A Plot to Kill. Thank you.
Thank you.